This is Chaya Raichik's book, No More Secrets, The Candy Cavern. Now, if you don't know Chaya Raichik, she also goes by Libs of TikTok. She runs a Twitter account called Libs of TikTok, which is basically a stochastic terrorist Twitter account. She's a religious cult member, a fundamentalist. She's actually from a sect of Judaism that is really, really extreme, an incredibly unusual sect of Judaism who believes that you shouldn't show your elbows or your knees at any point ever because it's too tempting for men. It's crazy. Well, she wrote this book, and as it turns out, this book is not in ebook format. I had to buy it and pull the binding off so that I could scan the pages, and it took me hours and hours. I did this with a bunch of different books. These are all books from Brave Books, which is like a publishing company created by Kirk Cameron, and it's designed to propagandize to children. It's absolutely nuts, dude. So I want to read this book, Libs of TikTok, created in an effort to destroy people's interest in being trans. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The book compares being trans to eating a sweet cupcake. If somebody makes an argument like that, it seems to me that this might be something that they're interested in, right? I've never viewed being trans as a sweet cupcake in my life. Not something that ever crossed my mind. You know why? I'm not trans. Why is she comparing it to a sweet cupcake? What a weird thing to do. So yeah, let's read the book. Let's see what she had to say about it. Before we read the book, though, let me just show you what Chaya Raichik's effect is on society. Let me show you what this person does to the people around her. This is a comment at a board meeting, I think, or I'm not exactly sure what this was, but this woman comes up here and she has something to say to these elected officials about how they're treating the trans community. There was I think like a school principal of I believe a private school. I think it was a private school. And this principal optionally gave kids, we're talking like 16, 17-year-old kids. We're talking high school-aged kids. Gave them the option of taking an additional sex ed class that would teach them how to have safe gays rather than just safe. Like in normal health class, they teach you how to use a condom and things like that, right? Well, optionally, if you wanted, they would teach you about other things that the LGBT community might need to know as adults to stay safe themselves. They are at a higher risk as members of the LGBT community. You know, HIV, though it affects everybody, affected the gay community particularly badly. So it makes sense that there would be an extra health class to help kids learn to be safe. That's my understanding of the situation. Now listen to how they portrayed that.
It started out as pride coming in. And I thought everything would be okay. I was totally fine with them having and doing what they wanted under the laws. And it ended with a rainbow room where 8 to 12-year-old kids were given until and trained.
No. It is exactly as I described earlier, a rainbow room where they train 8 to 12-year-olds. No, this is like older kids who could optionally take an additional level health class that would teach them to use certain things like condoms, just like they teach kids to use condoms in health class. Remember that? You could twist the situation around the exact same way and say, gave them condoms and trained them the same way, right? This is no different. Kids need to know about this stuff as they get older, as they grow up. Or we're going to end up with a society with pregnant 16-year-olds who have no idea what's going on, no idea how to stay safe, pass diseases around like mad, and live a terrible life because you're too afraid to show them how to do things responsibly and safely. She's portraying this as though they get a bunch of 10-year-olds in a room and attack them or whatever. Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. And she's crying. Is this real? The reason I'm talking about this right now is because this is a myth started by Libs of TikTok. Actually, it was started by Project Veritas and then spread around by Libs of TikTok. But by Chaya Raichik, the person who wrote this book that we're about to read, No More Secrets, The Candy Cavern. She passed this around. She shouted this out. And you know what happened when she sent this video out of this guy talking about their additional sex ed program? You know what happened when she sent that out to her followers? Bomb threats happened. That's what. Just like what happened when she spread information about Boston Children's Hospital, false information about them giving sex change operations to 6-year-olds or whatever. That's not happening. Never happened. It's illegal in the United States. But it doesn't matter. She'll spread as much false information as it takes to convince everybody around her that being gay is wrong, being trans is wrong, being anything other than exactly what society expects of you is wrong. She will propagandize until everybody thinks that the trans community is evil.
Trained. They just got a city grant for $650,000 to be able to do more training on the children.
When she says training on the children, what's really happening is they're teaching them to use condoms, you know, like you remember the banana demonstration in health class? I never had health class. I was exempt from sex ed because my parents were like this woman here. But kids need to know this stuff. And she's breaking up and crying, oh my God, everybody's persecuted.
It was horrendous. I have asked my friends there what if it's getting any better. Every single one of them are leaving. And it is a very good tax base. These conservatives are good tax-based people.
What the hell does that mean? Good tax-based people, okay?
It was absolutely horrible to watch. You think that you're doing things based on laws.
There was nothing to watch. She didn't watch anything. What is she talking about? It was horrible to watch. What does she think she saw?
But you are doing things and you are letting Satan in. He will not take an inch. I promise you.
Thank
he
you
will
for
take
your
everything.
comments.
Your mom will take an inch.
And it
Next,
will not stop.
please.
It doesn't stop.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. They are out of their minds on Jesus and on Libs of TikTok. They're out of their minds on this stuff. So let's read this book by Libs of TikTok by Chaya Raichik and see what she has to say about how evil it is to be trans, shall we? The title of the book is No More Secrets, The Candy Cavern. Once upon a time, there lived a little lamb named Rose. Oh, I'm sorry for, like, the jagged edges and stuff. This is the first book that I did it with that, you know, took the binding off and scanned it in. I'm getting better at it. There are more that I want to get, but yeah, it's a little jagged, sorry. Rose was so excited to start her very first day of second grade. She couldn't wait to see her friends and meet her new teacher. Now, something that I want to point out up front, these things are not being discussed in second grade. Sex ed, being trans, being gay, whatever, none of this is discussed in second grade. This is discussed with high schoolers, you know, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old sometimes. Not even in like, you should be trans or you should be gay type of way. It's not like that. It's just these are issues that will come up in your life soon, and you should know these things. That's it. But the right has always had a vested interest in convincing everybody around them that the children need to be saved from some ambiguous evil, and that's how they've always propagandized on the right. Even Hitler did it. Everybody on the right tends to do this. People tend to use children to their advantage, unfortunately. That's just how it's always worked. Rose is so excited to start her very first day of second grade, she couldn't wait to see her friends and meet her new teacher. When Rose's parents dropped her off at school, they gave her a huge hug and reminded her to listen to her teacher. With a skip in her step, Rose ran into her classroom, ready to learn. "Welcome, class," Mr. Woolley said. "This year, we'll learn all of our sheepy things like counting and reading, but we'll do it while eating a ton of candy. Would you like that?" "Ooh," the class cheered. Mr. Woolley smiled, but he was up to no good. Rose raised her hand. "Excuse me, Mr. Woolley, sir. I would love to have a sweet, but my parents told me I shouldn't eat too much candy at once." No, Mr. Woolley interrupted. "Don't worry, it'll be fine. You should eat as much candy as you want. Your parents will never know. My class is a safe space," Mr. Woolley laughed evilly to himself. Yeah, this doesn't happen. This is a fabricated problem. The way that they're portraying this, let me draw out how it's being portrayed and what it really is. There are laws in certain states that say if a teacher finds out that somebody is trans or gay or whatever, then they have to report it to the parents. That is very different from what's being portrayed here, which is the teacher is trying to get the student to be gay or trans, and he's also trying to hide that from the parents. You don't have to hide anything from anybody. You just have to not tell the parents what the kid has decided for themselves. She's trying to twist it out of proportion and make it seem as though children are being indoctrinated into this cult or whatever by the teachers, and the teachers are trying to cover it up en masse. Absurd. And think about what she's saying here. She's comparing being gay or trans to sweet candy, sweet, enjoyable candy. The thought of hiding something from her parents made Rose feel funny. Her parents always taught her not to keep secrets from them. Right. Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't keep secrets from your parents. But if your parents are religious extremists who hate the trans community or the gay community, and it turns out that you're gay, you've come to find, you shouldn't put yourself in a dangerous situation. Simple as that. These people want to twist it around to be the teacher is trying to hide it from everybody, and he's really indoctrinating children. That's not what's happening. But before she could think about it more, Mr. Woolley handed her a delicious lollipop. Rose decided that if her teacher said it was okay, then surely she could eat one little piece, and so she did. After school, Rose's mother asked her how her first day had gone. Rose thought about the sweets and looked down. Fine, she answered, remembering Mr. Woolley had promised that her parents would never know. The next day, when the Lambs were at recess, Mr. Woolley brought out a cart filled with cakes and candy. Cakes, candy, eat as much as you want. You can trust me. I won't tell your parents. It'll be our little secret. Yeah, again, this is a complete fabrication. Teachers are not bringing out trans and gay to give to children. That's not happening. Teachers are not trying to turn kids gay or trans. Absolutely absurd. And to compare it to a sweet cupcake like this, that's something else, dude. Methinks thou doth protest too much. Is that the saying? When I left Jehovah's Witnesses, I left a deeply oppressive religion that controlled every aspect of my life. It was really, really hard to deal with. And when I came out, I got to try all kinds of stuff. I got to try whatever I wanted. I smoked cigarettes. I did drugs. I drank. Destroyed my life. I should have been more careful. But you know the thing that I didn't try? I didn't try being gay. And I didn't try being trans. Because I'm not. I had free reign, complete control over my life in every sense of the term. And I didn't turn gay and I didn't turn trans. Weird, huh? That's super strange. Almost like this isn't a choice that people make, a conscious choice. Almost like they can't be talked into it, no matter how much freedom they're given. If you view being gay or trans as a sweet cupcake, you might be gay or trans. It's like a while back, there's a preacher making his rounds in the atheist community on YouTube. This preacher was saying he knows it's tempting to be gay. He understands how tempting that is. He spent time in prison and he had a boyfriend in prison, and it's really, really hard. But you have to resist. No, it's not hard to not be gay, actually. It's not hard at all. In fact, I've never had the desire to be gay in my entire life. What are you talking about? It's hard to be straight. What? You ever consider the possibility maybe you're just gay? No, they are convinced that they're hearing messages from everybody around them, from their teachers, from their parents, from their everybody, that it's okay to be gay. Just come on, be gay. You want to be gay, right? No one has ever told me that, it's okay to be gay. Just be gay. No one has ever tried to convince me of this. If you're hearing this message from everybody in your life, maybe it's on you. Maybe it's in your head. And maybe, just maybe, you're projecting these problems in your own emotional psyche onto everybody around you. Anyway, let's keep reading here. I got a little sidetracked. Rose stayed on her swing. She'd already had some sweet treats that morning, and Rose thought she might get a tummy ache if she ate any more. At the end of the day, Mr. Woolley pulled Rose aside. I noticed you didn't eat any cake today, so I saved you a cupcake. Here. "Thank you, Mr. Woolley," Rose whispered, "but I don't think my parents would want me to have so much cake. Maybe I could take the cupcake home and ask them." "No," howled Mr. Woolley. "You're old enough to make your own decisions, so don't worry about your parents." Right, so the difference between what's happening in society and school today and what's being portrayed in this book is the fact that students and teachers and everybody else are not trying to convince children to be trans or gay or whatever. Students or kids, 16-year-old kids are coming to find that they are. They simply are. They're gay or they're trans. That's just what it is. And more often than not, they don't tell the teachers. But the teachers pick up on conversations happening around them. They can hear the students' classmates calling them she instead of him, or talking about their boyfriend or whatever. That's really how it works. Now, Chaya Raichik is doing everything she can to force legislation through, or to advocate for legislation that would force teachers to tell parents if they find out that a student is gay or trans or whatever. And what happens then? More often than not, parents kick their children out of the house, disown them, treat them like garbage, because that's what the right does. They are unduly obsessed with sexual goings-on. In fact, this is one of the factors on something called the F scale by Theodore Adorno. It's a personality test written in 1947 to determine if somebody would be likely to follow a fascist. An obsession with power and toughness, an obsession with conventionalism or conservatism, an obsession with authoritarian submission, religion and ethics, exaggerated concern with sexual goings-on. This is the kind of stuff that you find in authoritarian regimes, in authoritarian dictatorships, in right-wing governments. And here we sit reading it. This is what Libs of TikTok, Chaya Raichik, is advocating for. An obsession with sexual goings-on, when 15-year-olds are just going to be 15-year-olds and they're going to live their lives. She is actively doing everything that she can to make sure that teachers are legally obligated to tell parents if they find out that their kid is gay or trans or whatever, which ruins lives completely. So Mr. Woolley says, "Don't worry about your parents." Mr. Woolley knelt down beside Rose. "You can trust me, Rose. I'm here to support you, and I won't tell your parents anything. This can be our little secret." Rose took the cupcake, and Mr. Woolley gave her a wicked smile. He knew that his plan was working perfectly. Now she's implying intent. There's some kind of secret, devious idea brewing. Some plan in the works by evil teachers. At the end of the first month of school, Mr. Woolley made an announcement. "Tomorrow, our class is taking a field trip to Candy Cavern. It'll be fantastic. There are more good things to eat in this cavern than you could ever dream of." That night, Rose's father asked her how her day had been. Rose paused. "It was fine, I guess. I just have a tummy ache." "Oh no," said her mother. "What did you eat today?" "Well, I can't tell you. My teacher said it was a secret." There's no teacher out there telling kids to keep secrets from their parents. This isn't happening. Now, teachers shouldn't be obligated to tell parents every little aspect of their kid's life, about what they say to their friends, about everything. I'm 99.5% sure that Alpha Force Zero swears in school. 14 years old. I mean, I was swearing by 11. So, 99.5% sure of it. And I'm 99.9% sure that if that's the case, her teachers know. But it's not really any of my business. You know why? Alpha Force Zero has a life of her own. She's her own person. Got her own friends and her own things going on. Why is it my business, honestly, what happens in her personal life? Like, I want to make sure that she doesn't go down a bad path. I want to make sure that things are going okay for her and that she doesn't get herself in a bad situation with destructive friends or something like that. Doesn't get involved in drugs, doesn't get involved in drinking or any of that other stuff. But personal decisions about how to live her life are her own decisions. In the next 3 years, give or take, she's going to be an adult and completely out of my control or authority to any degree. At that point, What's the relationship going to look like if I do everything I can to suppress the possibility that she's gay or trans or that she swears or whatever other thing? The point that this book is trying to make is that teachers should pick up on every little thing that they hear from kids, whether it's relevant to the parents or not, and tell the parents, because they can force the kid to do something. They can force them to not have friends anymore. They can force them into homeschooling, force them into a Christian school. That's the goal here, to propagandize and force teachers to tell parents if they find out a student is doing something, so that the parents can get a tighter grip on the students. For all that talk about how mask wearing leads to more abuse because you can't see their smile and all that stuff, they sure don't seem to give a shit about the possible ramifications of telling parents what children are doing. They never cared about possible abuse. Chaya Raichik, the far right, she never cared about children's well-being. She cares about rooting out being trans or gay from society at any cost, and she's willing to hurt as many children as it takes to do it. Well, I can't tell you. My teacher said it was a secret. Oh, Rose, that's not good, said her father. It's important to let us know right away if anyone tells you to keep a secret from us. I agree. Absolutely. I don't disagree with this position at all. That's not what's happening. So Rose told her parents everything about the candy and Mr. Woolley. Rose's father put his arm around her and encouraged her, letting her know that she'd done the right thing by coming to them. Rose felt very thankful that she was honest and her parents helped her with this tricky situation. The next day, Rose arrived at the Candy Cavern, but it was dark and damp and not at all as fantastic as Mr. Woolley had said. And where was everybody? Hello, she called. That's when something big and bad came up behind her. And I guess she walked into the classroom and there was a sign pointing toward Candy Cavern. And all of the sheep were in, like, what do you call it, like a big cage. And it turned out that Mr. Woolley was actually a wolf, not a sheep, and he was wearing a little hat that made him look like a sheep. Mr. Woolley snatched Rose up as his woolly disguise fell to the ground. "I've got you at last," Mr. Woolley the wolf chuckled as he tossed her into the cage with the rest of her classmates. Rose and the rest of the lambs shook with fear. "Ah ha 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 ha." Another wolf emerged, and they both licked their long, sharp teeth. Mr. Woolley said, "Now that I've fattened all you little lambs up, we're ready for a delicious lunch, and because you never told your parents about the candy, there's nothing that can stop us." All of a sudden, Rose noticed a shadow approaching, and it has horns. It must be her dad. So what's the message? Is she trying to say that, like, oh, okay, I see the message. Yeah, I'm trying to pick up on it. So she's really drawing out this whole groomer analogy, right? The word groomer, in my opinion, is a slur, and in time will be viewed just as negatively as the F word for gay people. But it's not viewed that way yet. So extremists and bigots can use that word to their heart's content right now, can use that trope to their heart's content. So she's saying that teachers are trying to groom children into being gay because that means that there are more gay people around for them or something like that, apparently, right? Chaya Raichik is simply a depraved human being. To be willing to say the things she does, to do the things she does, it's just wrong. Holy Christ on a cracker, dude. This is bad. "Stay away from my Rose," says the ram, and he rams into the wolf's back. With a whack, Rose's father sent the wolves straight into one of their own cages and slammed the door shut. Rose's parents freed the little lambs and brought them back safe and sound to their own mothers and fathers. This book was actually much better written than the others from just like an objective quality standpoint. The messaging was a lot clearer in this one than the others. The other books that I've read so far on this channel, not that good. They had to have like a little game section at the back to try to propagandize even harder, to drive those subtle points home. If this is on my main channel, you guys should check my Reads YouTube channel because I cover stuff like this all the time and it's super fascinating. From then on, Rose never kept secrets from her parents. Never again did a teacher or candy come between them, and so they lived happily ever after. The end. So yeah, that's the end of the book. This one doesn't have any games or anything at the end. A lot of the time these books have like games and stuff. Like I've read, there's one, it's like an anti-black book. It's called More Than Spots and Stripes. It was written by the Hodge twins, which they used to be like exercise YouTubers. It got like 1 million subbies or something. And now they're just right-wing extremist propagandists. But yeah, right here, this is an example of like the games and stuff, right? Like the pages here, they're showing, there's an introduction, there's an objective, there's a messaging from the Hodge twins themselves, so on and so forth. Shia Raichik's book didn't have any of that, but anyways, I thought it drilled the point home succinctly. She hates people who groom children, and she believes that the LGBT community does that. Absolutely depraved stuff, man. Depraved stuff. Absolutely disgusting. I agree with most of the messaging in the book. Like, you shouldn't hide things from your parents. You shouldn't keep secrets unless you're in danger of being kicked out. Trust me. I was when I was little. Not that I was gay or trans, but if I had ever voiced an opinion, opposed to the Watchtower Society, Jehovah's Witnesses, I would have been kicked out in an instant. And I eventually was kicked out for leaving the religion behind. Sometimes you need to protect yourself. And again, the lamb in this book just started second grade. What they're portraying here is a bunch of members of the LGBT community trying to groom second graders so that they can prey on them. Absolutely disgusting. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I think Shia Raichik is just terrible in every way.